Welcome to Whispered Wonders, a place where shadows speak and untold stories come alive. Please like and subscribe to encourage us into posting more stories. The family arrived at Ashwood Manor just as twilight cast its golden glow across the overgrown gardens. The manor stood tall, its Gothic spires piercing the evening sky. It was majestic, but there was something off about the place. An air of stillness that seemed too heavy, too deliberate. Jack, always the pragmatist, dismissed the eerie feeling. "It's just an old house," he reassured his wife Clara as they unloaded the car. Emma, their 12-year-old daughter, gazed up at the cracked windows with a mix of awe and trepidation. "It looks like a castle," she whispered to her younger brother Sam. He clutched her hand tightly, already uneasy. Grandma Agnes was the last to step out, her eyes locked on the house, and she froze. "This place has seen too much," she muttered, her voice low and distant. Clara turned to her, concerned, but Agnes quickly waved her off. "Just an old woman's imagination," she said with a weak smile. For the first few weeks, the family settled in without incident. The kids explored the house's many rooms, laughing as they stumbled upon hidden nooks and forgotten trinkets. Agnes often sat by the fireplace, knitting and humming tunes that seemed oddly familiar, though no one could place them. Jack fixed creaking doors and leaky faucets, and Clara filled the halls with the aroma of her cooking. But beneath the veneer of domestic bliss, the house had begun to awaken. The first signs. It started subtly. Emma woke one night to the sound of soft whispers. At first, she thought it was her parents, but the voices were faint, almost musical, and seemed to be coming from the walls themselves. Curiosity got the better of her, and she followed the sound up to the attic. The room was cold, far colder than it should have been. In the dim moonlight filtering through a cracked window, she saw an old rocking chair swaying back and forth. She froze, her breath caught in her throat. Then a voice, a soft, childlike whisper, called her name. She bolted downstairs, her heart pounding. Jack dismissed her story as a dream, but Agnes looked at Emma with a seriousness she hadn't shown before. "If they're calling to you," Agnes said, "it means they're not resting." The escalation. The following days brought more disturbances. Plates flew from shelves in the kitchen, narrowly missing Clara. Sam's toys rearranged themselves in strange, intricate patterns overnight. One evening, while Jack was working in the cellar, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning, he saw nothing but shadows that seemed to linger too long. The family's unease grew, but it wasn't until Clara discovered the words "get out" scratched into the bedroom mirror that fear took root. Agnes, now convinced of the house's malevolence, began to reveal what she knew. "This house belonged to the Ashwood family," she said one stormy night as the family huddled in the living room. "They suffered greatly. Plagues, betrayals, deaths that should never have happened. Their anguish bound them here." Jack shook his head, refusing to believe. "It's just creaky floors and drafts," he insisted. But Clara wasn't so sure anymore. The turning point. One night, the house's fury reached a peak. The family woke to the sound of shattering glass. Rushing to the kitchen, they found Agnes standing in the middle of the room, her eyes wide with terror. She pointed a trembling finger toward the shadows, where faint figures began to take shape. Blurry, translucent apparitions, with hollow eyes and twisted expressions. The family pulled Agnes away, but the ghosts did not pursue them. Instead, the air grew heavy, the temperature plummeted, and a voice echoed through the house. "This is not your home." Agnes seemed to grow weaker after that night, as if the house was draining her. Despite the family's protests, she insisted on venturing into the attic, claiming she needed to confront something she had long avoided. Hours later, they found her lifeless body near the old rocking chair. Her face bore an expression of fear and perhaps regret. Carved into the floorboards beneath her was a chilling message. Ours. The family's desperation. Grief-stricken and terrified, the family tried to leave, but the house wouldn't let them. The doors wouldn't budge, and the windows resisted even Jack's strongest blows. They were prisoners. It was Emma who finally proposed an idea. She had been exploring the attic earlier and found an old journal belonging to the Ashwood matriarch. The entries revealed the family's tragic past. Betrayal, a desperate attempt to summon help from the spirit world, and an unintended curse that trapped their souls within the house. "They're not evil," Emma said, her voice trembling. "They're angry. They're hurt. Maybe, if we show them we're not a threat, they'll let us stay." The ritual of coexistence. The family gathered in the living room, each bringing an item that symbolized peace and respect. Clara offered a loaf of freshly baked bread. Jack placed his wedding ring on the table as a token of sincerity. Emma and Sam added drawings of the house, showing it as a home filled with light and laughter. Clara spoke into the silence, her voice steady despite her fear. "We don't want to harm you. We only want to live here peacefully. Please, let us share this space." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the candles flickered, their flames dancing wildly before going out. A cold breeze swept through the room, carrying with it a faint chorus of voices, sorrowful but not angry. The shadows in the corners receded, and the house seemed to exhale as if releasing a long-held breath. A fragile harmony. From that day forward, the house's haunting changed. The whispers became soft lullabies. The shadows, though still present, no longer felt threatening. Occasionally, the family would find an object moved or hear faint laughter, but it felt more like the ghosts were watching over them than tormenting them. Emma often sat in the attic, talking to the air. Sometimes she swore she could hear a child's giggle or feel a soft hand on her shoulder. The family left small offerings: a slice of cake, a candle-lit prayer, and the spirits left them in peace. Though the loss of Agnes still weighed heavily, the family found solace in knowing she too had become part of the house's spirit. Ashwood Manor was no longer just a house. It was a living, breathing entity, a place where the living and the dead coexisted, bound by respect and understanding. And, as the family gathered by the fire each night, they could almost feel Agnes's presence, her watchful eyes ensuring that harmony endured. This was the end of today's story. I hope you enjoyed. Till our next adventure, goodbye.